I've had the Nintendo Switch for the better part of 2 weeks now, and in that time, despite my numerous preconceived reservations, and even with its present flaws, I must say I've come to appreciate this little console. The main idea and promise of the Switch is simple and compelling. It's a powerful gaming console that you can play anywhere, anytime. Want to relax on the couch at home and enjoy your games on the big screen TV? Just place the device inside the dock and detach the two Joy-Con controllers on the sides, which you can then use individually in each hand or attach to the included grip accessory for a more traditional controller experience. Or if you have justified spending $70 on a Pro controller, simply dock the Switch and pick up the extra controller. From there, do you want to take your gaming experience away from the TV and on the go? Reattach the Joy-Cons, lift the device from its plastic nest, and enjoy your content on the tablet's sharp and vibrant 6.2 inches 720p LCD display. The transition is seamless, instantaneous, and completely hassle-free, and you'll get around 3 hours of battery on demanding AAA titles like Zelda Breath of the Wild. Ideally, I would have liked for the console to push 5 hours, but this can be easily remedied by purchasing a battery bank. Nintendo smartly employed a USB Type-C connector for charging in favor of a proprietary port, paving the way for a variety of third-party battery solutions. I myself have a 30,000 mAh battery bank that yields around 18 hours of battery life when playing Zelda Breath of the Wild, which is more than enough for my daily gaming needs. So while you're gaming on the go, do you want to set the console down on a table somewhere so you can play in a more relaxed manner, or so others can watch you play? Detach the Joy-Cons, kick out the functional albeit flimsy kickstand, set the console down on a flat surface, and the Switch practically becomes a small portable gaming TV, while the Joy-Cons function as your portable wireless controllers. Unfortunately, you can't charge the console in this configuration due to the placement of the USB-C port. This was necessary to make the console easy to dock, but it's still an unfortunate omission. Regardless, that's still a decent 3+ hours of uninterrupted tabletop gameplay, and there are third-party solutions that can alleviate this problem. From there, do you want to invite a friend to join in for some local multiplayer? Simply hand over a Joy-Con, hold the controller sideways, and you're set. Most important of all, are you in the middle of a pivotal moment in your gaming session, but your stomach's starting to act up? Well, just take the console with you into the bathroom, sit down on the toilet, and fight a battle on two fronts. In the 2 weeks I've had with this device, I've tried all of the Switch's configurations in a variety of situations. I've played the Switch in TV mode. I've used it in handheld mode while lying in bed. I tried tabletop mode while sitting at a desk. I've used the console during car rides, while visiting a friend's house, while waiting for an appointment, while taking a shit, you name it. And every time, I couldn't help but appreciate how seamless it was to switch from one situation to the next with little to no hassle. I'm not exaggerating when I say that the Switch is the most versatile video game console I've ever used. I own all kinds of gaming devices, a 3DS, a Vita, a PS4, and a gaming laptop, and none of them can quite achieve Switch's level of versatility. While I love how portable my 3DS and Vita are, neither console offer an easy solution to play games on the TV, and they also don't offer enough screen real estate, buttons, namely clickable analog sticks and triggers, or processing power to provide a full-fledged home console experience without significant compromises. While I love how powerful my PS4 is with its incredibly comfortable DualShock 4 controller and awesome exclusives, it's not a console I can really play anywhere, anytime. This console is solely tied to a television or monitor experience. Some may suggest remote play as a possible solution, but that's still limited by the need of constant high-speed internet connection and having to use the PlayStation Vita's inferior input options. Finally, while I love how powerful, portable, and versatile my gaming laptop is, it's simply too big, too heavy, and too unwieldy to truly play games anywhere, anytime. I can't really see myself gaming on my laptop while laying in bed, while riding a bus during a flight, while waiting in the lobby for an appointment, or while taking a shit. That's because gaming laptops aren't really portable gaming consoles, but rather easily transportable stationary powerhouses. I can definitely take my gaming laptop anywhere I want, but to actually play games on it optimally, I have to set it down on a table, plug it into an outlet, and hook up additional external components like a mouse or an external controller. I can hook up my laptop to a TV though, but even that requires finagling with cables and display settings, alongside additional wireless accessories to efficiently operate the computer from a distance. To make a long story short, there hasn't really been a one-size-fits-all video game device until the Nintendo Switch came along. Every gaming device until now has been tailored for specific purposes and specific situations, but the Nintendo Switch actually feels like it's tailored for just about any situation. Playing on the TV is as simple and effortless as placing the tablet in the dock. Playing it like a handheld device is as simple as picking it up, and playing it like a laptop in tabletop mode is as simple as propping it up with the kickstand. And in all of these configurations, I can use the Joy-Cons in a variety of ways to seamlessly interface with the device in a hassle-free manner. It's a gaming device that I can just as gladly play on the TV as I can laying in bed, riding the bus during a long flight, waiting in the lobby for an appointment, at a restaurant, at a friend's house, taking a shit, you name it. And going from one activity to the other with the Nintendo Switch feels seamless and hassle-free. This is all made possible by the elegant integration and combination of the Switch tablet's compact size and lightweight, the thoughtfully implemented dock, and the detachable multi-purpose wireless Joy-Con controllers, which pave the way for a uniquely modular and versatile gaming device that truly does live up to the promise of playing games anywhere, anytime. But of course, the Switch can't have it all. The biggest sacrifice that the console makes for its versatility and convenience is power. From a raw computational perspective, there is no denying that the Switch can't compete with the competition, the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. But that's almost easy to forget after witnessing a game as vast and as beautiful as Zelda Breath of the Wild running on the small device with little to no compromises. That's not to say, however, that the lower processing capabilities won't have an adverse effect on what high-end AAA games third-party developers can port over. But that's the gamble that Nintendo's taking here. They're hoping that the versatility of the hardware, paired with compelling software, will outshine the desire for high-end graphics. Whether this proposition will appeal to consumers on a mass market level, only time will tell, but I'm personally intrigued. I remember there was a specific moment when the concept of the Switch finally clicked for me, and that was when I was over at a friend's house and I had brought over my Nintendo Switch to play Breath of the Wild alongside another friend who had brought over his Wii U. We played for a few hours, and when it was time to go home, I casually put the Switch to sleep with a press of a button, effortlessly put the console inside my special edition Breath of the Wild pouch, put the battery bank I had brought just in case back in my pocket, and I was ready to go. The whole process took maybe 10-20 seconds. I then glanced over to my friend, and I found him still struggling to pack up all of the Wii U's cables, controllers, and components. And that's when it really hit me just how seamless and convenient the Switch is. The entire experience of having the Switch, carrying it around with me, playing it whenever I felt like it, putting the device back to sleep as I saw fit, on-demand local multiplayer. It never really hit me how effortless it all was until then. It also doesn't hurt that the Switch is a solid piece of hardware that breeds confidence when you hold it. It's got just enough weight to give it that pricey feel, but it's lightweight enough that it doesn't impede handheld gameplay. Obviously, you shouldn't expect iPad level of build quality, as the Switch is mostly made of plastic, but the plastic feels solid and is well constructed into a package that feels a little premium even. Plastic is especially appealing when you consider that it makes the device more durable and less prone to extensive damage. The Joy-Cons that come included are also well constructed, and they're surprisingly lightweight to boot, sliding effortlessly into the main unit with a satisfying click. Once the Joy-Cons are attached to the main unit, the whole console feels secure, and you never get the sense that the Joy-Cons will snap off or detach on their own. However, I did find that the Joy-Cons creak and flex when pressure is applied towards the bottom part where the rails meet. And it's prevalent enough to slightly diminish the console's overall build quality. Slight creaking and flexing aside, the Joy-Cons excel where they really matter, providing a solid and flexible controller input for any situation. They're at the heart of what makes the Switch's hybrid concept work. They fit nicely in the hands in all configurations, buttons are nice and clicky, analog sticks feel responsive, albeit a little loose, and their impressive 20 hours battery life means you'll never have to worry worry that they'll ever run out of juice mid-game, as long as you don't forget to charge the Joy-Cons every now and then. There are 4 ways to use the Joy-Cons, and the most comfortable configuration is when the Joy-Cons are attached to the puppy face grip. After having played this way for many hours, I'm in no rush to go buy a Pro controller, as the grip accessory makes for a very competent traditional controller experience. My only complaint is that the analog sticks have a pretty short range of motion, which makes making fine adjustments for in-game movement and camera quite difficult. They feel like bigger versions of the Vita's analog sticks, so they're adequate for most games, but they would be impractical for a fast-paced first-person shooter that requires a lot of precision. Moving on, the second most comfortable Joy-Con configuration is when they're attached to the tablet in handheld mode. I played Zelda Breath of the Wild like this for hours at a time, and I never found myself experiencing any cramps or major discomforts. I don't know how bigger hands will fare, but my average-sized hands comfortably wrap around the unit and can easily access all of the Joy-Con's buttons and inputs. Reaching the directional pad and the right analog stick did require some adjustment though. They're definitely not in the most ideal position, but they're not unusable by any stretch of the imagination. I found that using the inner knuckle of my thumb for these inputs helped significantly. Next up, the third most comfortable configuration is when the Joy-Cons are held in each hand like a Wii Remote and nunchuck, and they fit surprisingly well in the hands. Due to the Joy-Cons' small size, it's very easy to adjust your grip on the controllers and easily reach all of the inputs. There's also something very appealing about being able to relax your arms in any way you want during gameplay. However, I did find that after an hour, my right hand began to cramp up a bit. Nothing severe, but it was just uncomfortable enough to make this configuration less ideal than using the included grip accessory. It's still very functional though, and I can definitely see myself using the Joy-Cons like this during flights, at a cafe, or in any situation where the grip accessory isn't readily available. Last but not least, the least comfortable of all configurations is when an individual Joy-Con is held sideways. Mind you, it isn't nearly as uncomfortable as it looks. I played snipper clips for an hour straight like this, and I was in no rush to switch to another configuration. It does take some getting used to though, especially because of the off-center layout, but it's still a great option for on-demand local multiplayer. My biggest complaint is that the additional SL and SR shoulder buttons are too stiff to press. It's great that they're there to offer additional input options, but you really have to jam your finger in there for the button to register, and with how little grip Joy-Cons offer with their miniature size, the problem is only compounded. It was alright for a slow and methodical game like Snipper Clips, but I can see myself having trouble playing something more intense like Mario Kart 8 or Super Smash Bros. In this configuration. The included wrist strap attachment does help a bit, but I found its buttons to be quite loose and rattly, yielding very poor tactile feedback, so it's still not the most ideal solution. Don't misunderstand, this is still a very functional configuration that you'll be glad to have as an option in a pinch, but looser shoulder buttons would have gone a long way. Speaking of the wrist strap attachment, I don't know if it's just me, but I found them to require way too much effort to detach. They don't slide out smoothly in the way that Joy-Cons do from the tablet or the grip accessory. It's also far too easy to slide the wrist strap attachment backwards and get it stuck. It happened to me once, and it took incredible effort to get it out. In all its elegance, this is probably the one area of the Nintendo Switch hardware design that feels clumsy and half-assed. All in all though, the Joy-Cons act as a very compelling and competent multi-purpose controller solution, with their portability and versatility making up for some of its shortcomings. There's always going to be compromises when having to make a controller this small and this portable, but this is one of those cases where the benefits outshine the compromises. So as I'm sure you've gathered by now, I really love the concept of the Switch and its elegant execution. The core idea of playing anywhere, anytime works really well, and I think this is something that has the potential to appeal to a lot of people's lifestyles. Now, despite my enthusiasm for Nintendo's new console, outside of hardcore Nintendo or Zelda fans and curious gamers with money to burn, I can't recommend that you rush out to buy a Switch quite yet. As much as I love the hardware, the Switch's launch feels woefully undercooked, especially on the software side of things. The current software lineup, even with the inclusion of Breath of the Wild, is paltry at best, and aside from an abundance of indie developers, third-party support feels non-existent. It feels as though I'm constantly reading a new article about how a major development studio doesn't have plans to bring a major AAA title to the Switch, whether it's Final Fantasy XV, Mass Effect Andromeda, Borderlands 3, and most recently, South Park: The Fractured But Whole. Whether this is because the developers are biding their time to see how well the Switch sells first, whether they're still familiarizing themselves with the hardware, or whether they simply don't think the Switch is powerful enough to run their games, is hard to say at this point. All I know is that the closer I come to completing Zelda Breath of the Wild, the more I find myself wondering what's next. Looking ahead, Mario Odyssey looks amazing, but that won't launch until fall 2017, and until then, the only major titles we can expect for Switch, as far as I know, are a re-release of Mario Kart 8, Splatoon 2, and a handful of indie games. That's simply not enough to hold me over. There are also many unknown variables when it comes to upcoming Switch content and features. Things like the full extent of third-party support, plans for Virtual Console, online functionality, and voice chat implementation are still shrouded in mystery. And the Switch currently lacks many basic functionalities like private messaging, trophies and achievements, a readily accessible web browser, Bluetooth headset support, backing up save files to the microSD card, using a microSD card across more than one device, and more. As a result, Nintendo's user interface and home menu can feel pretty empty and bare bones, even if it does boast an attractive, colorful, and minimalistic design. On that note, I do have to compliment just how fast and snappy the Switch's operating system is. The console powers on very quickly, navigating through menus is snappy, and games boot up very fast. Certainly a huge step from Wii U, and the OS can even feel snappier than the competition at times. But again, it's missing a lot of features. It's also a shame that the Switch didn't launch with streaming services like YouTube, Netflix, Amazon Prime, and Hulu right out of the box, since its hybrid nature makes it the ideal device for them. Fortunately, Nintendo has confirmed that they're in talks with all the major companies to bring these services to the Switch, so this is only a temporary setback. In fact, most of Switch's major concerns and missing features can be addressed in time through software updates and releases, but as it stands, the Switch feels like it launched half-baked. And my recommendation to those on the fence about buying the console is to wait until it's had more time to sit in the oven. And while you bide your time, consider some additional costs that come with purchasing a Switch. A pathetic 32 gigabytes of onboard storage, 7 of which is used by the operating system, means that purchasing a microSD card is pretty much mandatory, especially if you intend to purchase games digitally. You might have some leeway if you intend to buy physical copies only, which is entirely possible thanks to how tiny and portable the game cartridges are. But just to be safe, most people will probably want to go for a 128 gigabytes microSD card, which will set you back as low as $40. I myself had a 256 gigabytes microSD card laying around, and setting it up was as easy as inserting the card into the slot underneath the kickstand and waiting for the device to do a very brief update. Also mandatory is a carrying case to protect your device, which costs on average around $15 to $20. You'll also want to consider the cost of additional controllers and accessories. An extra pair of Joy-Cons, $80. Pro controllers, $70. An extra dock set, $90. This is all, of course, without considering the cost of purchasing games. So, yeah, like with any new console launch, the Switch is definitely an investment. One last thing I would like to address are some of the issues that people have been reporting with the console. Problems apparently range from the left Joy-Con desyncing when lightly obstructed, the Switch's dock scratching the tablet screen, to dead pixels on the LCD panel. I'm not sure if I'm just lucky or if these issues are confined to a small percentage of Switch owners, but I myself have not encountered a single one of these problems. I've tried obstructing the left Joy-Con in a variety of reasonable ways at over 10 feet away from the console, and I experienced no syncing issues. I've also docked and undocked the Switch dozens of times and have yet to see a single scratch on my screen. As for dead pixels, I have yet to spot a single one, and the screen looks great on my unit, with my only real complaint being that it can be hard to see outdoors or in direct light sources, even with the brightness setting all the way up. The only major issues I've had with the Switch hardware are the wrist straps, which are a pain in the ass to detach, the slight flexing and creaking towards the bottom in handheld mode, and the flimsy, barely passable afterthought of a kickstand, which won't work on anything beyond a flat, solid surface. With all said and done though, the Nintendo Switch is a compelling piece of hardware, but Nintendo has a long way to go. It's off to a great start. The messaging is clear, the console and its various components are well constructed and feel great to hold, the core concept of playing games anywhere, anytime works beautifully. The console launched with a brand new Zelda game that currently stands as one of the highest rated games of all time, and there is a really solid foundation here for a successful gaming console. It's now a matter of backing this ecosystem with new modern features, a competent online infrastructure, popular apps and media services, and most importantly, a constant stream of high-quality games from both first-party and third-party studios. Nintendo's definitely got something going here, but only time will tell if they'll be able to capitalize and keep the ball rolling. With that, I would like to conclude my review of the Nintendo Switch. Thank you for tuning in. Share with us in the comments below your thoughts and opinions on Nintendo's new hybrid console. And to be further updated on gaming news and reviews, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out!